Have you ever found yourself sitting on the edge of your bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, staring into the dark, with a chest so tight it feels like you're running out of air? Have you ever felt that quiet, agonizing exhaustion that comes from fighting for a life that seems determined to slip through your fingers? You're doing everything right. You are waking up early, staying up late, pushing through the burnout, sending the emails, forcing the conversations, and holding on to pieces of a relationship or a career that are actively cutting your hands. But you keep gripping tighter because you're terrified that if you let go, you'll be left with absolutely nothing. If that is you right now, if you are tired of being the only one holding your world together, I want you to take a deep, slow breath. Drop your shoulders. Listen to the sound of the room around you. Feel the weight of your body resting against whatever is supporting it right now. You don't have to carry it all for the next few minutes. I want to tell you a story about a woman named Sarah who lived exactly where you are standing right now. She was a woman who tried to orchestrate her own miracles, who thought her hustle could outrun her heartbreak, and who nearly broke her own spirit before she learned a truth that changes everything. The moment you finally stop chasing, God starts providing. Stay with me until the very end of this message, because if you are on the verge of giving up, this isn't a sign to quit on life. It is a sign to quit trying to do God's job for Him. There is a specific shifting point in this story, a realization that will show you exactly how to trade your heavy anxiety for an unshakable peace, and I don't want you to miss it. Let's talk about Sarah. If you looked at her on paper or through the curated lens of social media, she looked like an absolute force of nature. She was the kind of person who wore her busy lifestyle like a badge of honor. You could smell the stale, lukewarm coffee in her car, see the permanent crease of worry between her eyebrows, and hear the sharp, rushed tone in her voice whenever she answered the phone. She was running on pure adrenaline and sheer willpower. Sarah had two big goals that she believed would finally unlock her happiness. The first was a corporate promotion at a high-end design firm, a position she had practically killed herself to deserve. She sacrificed her weekends, missed family dinners, and put up with a toxic management team that consistently took credit for her ideas. The second goal was a relationship with a man named David. They had been together for 4 years, but it felt like a 4-year marathon up a steep hill. The relationship was filled with mixed signals, cold silences, and an underlying sense that she was always one mistake away from losing him. Instead of seeing these roadblocks as signs to pause, Sarah treated them like a challenge. She thought, if I just work harder, they will see my value. If I love him better, if I fix his flaws, if I accommodate his distance, he will finally commit to me. Can you relate to that? That instinct to overcompensate when things start to feel unstable. We think that if we just control every variable, we can force the outcome we want. We become spiritual architects, drawing up our own blueprints, building our own towers, and then asking God to come in as a subcontractor just to sign off on our plans. Scripture speaks directly to this exhaustion. In Proverbs 3:5-6 it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." The key word there is lean not on your own understanding. But Sarah was leaning on her understanding with her entire body weight. She was relying on her strategy, her late nights, and her ability to manipulate circumstances to keep her life from collapsing. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday evening in late October. The air outside was damp and biting, smelling of wet asphalt and dying leaves. Sarah was sitting at her desk, the cold glow of her laptop screen reflecting in her tired eyes. Her shoulders ached from hours of typing. She had just submitted a massive project proposal that she hoped would secure her promotion. Her phone buzzed against the wood of the desk. It was a text from David. It wasn't an apology for his distance or an invitation to talk. It was a cold, brief message saying he needed space and that he couldn't handle the pressure of the relationship anymore. Before she could even process the hollow, sickening drop in her stomach, an email notification popped up on her screen. It was from the executive board. The promotion she had destroyed her mental health for had been given to someone else, an outside hire who happened to be the CEO's nephew. In a matter of 60 seconds, both pillars of the life she was trying to build shattered. Sarah sat there in the silence of the empty office. The only sound was the hum of the HVAC unit and the steady, rhythmic tapping of rain against the glass window. She felt completely numb. Her chest felt hollow, as if someone had reached inside and scooped out all her hope. She had given 100% of her soul, her intellect, and her heart, and she was left with a clean slate of rejection. She drove home in a daze. The windshield wipers clicked back and forth, a hypnotic sound that seemed to mock the chaos in her mind. When she walked through her front door, the apartment was completely dark and quiet. No one was waiting for her. The silence was deafening. She didn't turn on the lights. She walked straight into her living room, dropped her bag on the floor, and sank down onto her knees right there on the carpet. The texture of the rug was rough against her skin, a physical reality that grounded her as she finally let the tears come. And they didn't just come, they poured out of her. It was that deep, guttural weeping that comes from a person who has run out of strength. She looked up at the ceiling, her vision blurred, her throat tight and burning, and she did something she had never done before. She didn't beg God to fix the relationship. She didn't beg him to reverse the company's decision. She simply opened her hands, palms up, let her chin drop to her chest, and whispered 6 words that felt like a death sentence but were actually the beginning of her resurrection. I can't do this anymore. They will be done. In that moment, Sarah practiced the deep spiritual art of surrender. True surrender isn't throwing your hands up in defeat because you've lost hope. It's lifting your hands up in worship because you realize you are finally handing the battle over to the one who has never lost a war. Think about the words of Jesus in Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Notice that Jesus doesn't say, come to me when you have figured it out. He says, come to me when you are weary and burdened. Sarah had been wearing a yoke of her own making, a heavy iron yoke of performance, striving, and anxiety. When she said, thy will be done, she unhooked herself from that weight and stepped into the rest that only God can provide. The next morning did not bring a magical transformation. David didn't call and the company didn't change its mind. But something fundamental had shifted inside Sarah's soul. The heavy, suffocating anxiety that usually sat on her chest like a boulder was gone. It was replaced by a strange, quiet stillness, the kind of peace that Philippians 4:7 describes as passing all human understanding. She went to work, but she didn't hustle out of fear anymore. She did her job with excellence, but she left exactly at 5 o'clock. She didn't check David's social media. She didn't draft long, desperate paragraphs trying to convince him to see her worth. She chose to believe that if God allowed those doors to slam shut, it was because those spaces were too small for the future he had planned for her. And that is when the miracles started to happen. Not because Sarah was chasing them, but because she had finally stopped blocking them with her own frantic efforts. 3 weeks after her breakdown, Sarah was sitting in a local bakery on a Saturday morning. The space was warm, filled with the rich, comforting scent of roasted espresso and fresh cinnamon dough. She was reading a book, enjoying her own company for the first time in years. An older woman stepped up to her table, apologizing for the interruption, and asked about the book she was reading. That woman turned out to be the founder of an independent creative agency that focused on sustainable development, a field Sarah had always dreamed of entering, but never had the time to explore because she was too busy surviving her toxic corporate job. They talked for an hour. The conversation was fluid, natural, and effortless. There was no forcing, no performing. 2 weeks later, after a formal interview process that felt entirely guided by an unseen hand, Sarah was offered a position at the agency. The salary was 20% higher than the promotion she had lost. The culture was deeply collaborative, and her role allowed her to lead projects that actually brought life to communities. God didn't just give her a job. He gave her a placement that matched her destiny. What about her personal life? Months passed, and Sarah continued to heal. She spent time in prayer, learned to love the quiet of her apartment, and anchored her identity in being a daughter of God rather than a woman trying to keep a man. She stopped looking for love out of a place of lack. One evening, While volunteering at a community garden event organized by her new company, she met a man named Marcus. He didn't require her to play mind games. He didn't make her feel like she had to audition for his attention or walk on eggshells to keep his affection. His presence was like a calm harbor after a violent storm. He valued her mind, respected her boundaries, and walked openly in his own faith. Sarah realized that what she had been fighting so hard to keep with David was a counterfeit blessing. She had been begging God to fix a broken glass when he was trying to hand her a golden cup. This is the divine pattern of God. Look at Isaiah 43, 18-19. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do not you perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Sarah couldn't perceive the new thing because her eyes were glued to the old things she was losing. The moment she let go, her vision cleared, and she was able to receive the abundance God had already prepared for her. I want you to think about your own life right now. What are you chasing so hard that your hands are bleeding? Is it a title? A relationship that requires you to abandon your dignity? A version of success that leaves your soul empty? When you spend your life chasing, you are essentially telling God, I don't trust your timing, I don't trust your goodness, and I don't trust that you can do this without my help. But when you drop your hands, stop running, and anchor yourself in His presence, you create space for Him to move. You move from the realm of human striving into the realm of divine positioning. Nothing is impossible for God. There is no career valley He cannot pull you out of, no broken heart He cannot fully restore, and no financial dry spell He cannot turn into an overflowing river. If He can part the sea, if He can bring dead things back to life, He can certainly handle your tomorrow. You don't need to force the door open anymore. If God built the door, it will open at the exact right moment, and no human being, no corporate board, and no bad economy can lock it against you. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this story. If this message brought a sense of peace to your heart, if it felt like the breath of fresh air you've been praying for, then I want to welcome you home to this space. This channel is dedicated to education, deep motivation, and spiritual inspiration to help you grow, not just in your external endeavors, but in your internal strength. We are here to talk about how to have real faith in God, how to cultivate a deep, raw prayer life, and how to believe that there is absolutely nothing our Creator cannot do. If you want to build an unshakable foundation and walk through life with the confidence that God is fighting your battles, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a message. Before you close this video, I want to hear from you. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me, what is the one thing you need to stop chasing and hand over to God today? Let's talk about it. Let's pray for one another, and let's remind ourselves that when we let go, He takes over. Be blessed, keep your eyes on Him, and I will see you in the next video.